Look at the sheer scale of the Indian subcontinent. Scattered across this massive landmass, from the freezing peaks of the Himalayas down to the southern oceans, are 12 distinct coordinates. Ancient texts record these coordinates as points where a burst of cosmic energy fractured the Earth's crust, manifesting as an infinite pillar of light. In Hindu mythology, Lord Shiva does not deploy this level of raw power on a whim. The texts indicate that his physical manifestation requires an immense catalyst, usually a breaking point of cosmic tension, severe human suffering, or unyielding, almost terrifying devotion. To study the myths behind these shrines is to read a strict, uncompromising curriculum designed to test the limits of the human spirit. By examining the specific crises that triggered these 12 appearances, we can map out the precise virtues required to turn devastating curses, impossible guilt, and profound grief into divine grace. This photograph shows the Ghats of Kashi, also known as Varanasi. It's one of the oldest living cities on Earth, and the site where the ultimate clash of cosmic egos took place. The ancient texts describe a moment when the creator god, Brahma, falsely claimed supremacy over the entire universe. His deception, driven by sheer arrogance, triggered Shiva to manifest as an infinite, blazing column to instantly shatter that illusion of supreme control. Now, leave the creator gods and look at the dense forests of the Sahyadri Mountains, the home of Bhima Shankar. Here, that exact same psychological flaw, unbound arrogance, took hold of a demonic warlord. The demon Bhima spent 1,000 years in rigorous asceticism to acquire immense physical power. But instead of mastering his mind, the power fed his ego, driving him to brutally attack a defenseless king who was deep in prayer. The warlord's sword never reached its target. Shiva erupted directly from the king's humble clay altar. A single, earth-shattering roar from the deity instantly reduced Bhima to ashes. Whether you are the architect of the cosmos in a sacred city or an invincible warlord in a remote forest, status offers zero protection. The first law of this spiritual curriculum is the absolute surrender of the ego. Look at this image of the Kedarnath Temple, set against the freezing, isolated heights of the Himalayas. This harsh terrain serves as a physical manifestation of brutal, unforgiving penance. Following the apocalyptic war of the Mahabharata, the victorious Pandava brothers were crushed by the guilt of slaughtering their own kin. When they sought Shiva's forgiveness, he actively avoided them, forcing the kings to strip away their royal pride and endure a grueling, dangerous trek into the ice. You can see that resilience in this photograph from 2013. A catastrophic flood obliterated the entire surrounding town, yet a massive boulder wedged itself right behind the temple, parting the floodwaters and leaving the centuries-old structure entirely intact. Now compare that icy isolation to this image, the sunny southern coastal shores of Rameshwaram, situated at the complete opposite end of the Indian peninsula. Even Lord Rama, revered as a divine avatar, carried the immense guilt of killing the scholar king Ravana. To wash away the sin of taking a life, Rama sat on this exact beach and molded a humble shrine out of the ocean sand. The law of karma applies evenly across the entire map. True repentance requires laying down your weapons, abandoning your titles, and seeking atonement, no matter how justified your war might have been. It stands as a monument to the quiet, eternal grief of Shiva and Parvati as they wait for a son who left them in anger. This photograph shows the intricate stone carvings near the Ellora caves, located right beside the village that houses the Krishneshwar Jyotirlinga. This is the site of the ultimate human trial. The myth centers on a mortal woman named Gushma. One morning, she discovers that her own sister, consumed by violent jealousy, has murdered Gushma's only son and discarded his body in a local pond. Every human instinct dictates a reaction of blinding vengeance. Instead, Gushma displayed an unbreakable psychological resolve. She refused to succumb to wrath, calmly continuing her daily prayers to Shiva. When Shiva finally intervened, pulling the boy alive from the water, the deity offered to strike down the murderous sister. But Gushma fell to her knees and pleaded for her sister to receive total, unconditional forgiveness. Here, the narrative reveals its final lesson. The highest manifestation of cosmic power is not the ability to incinerate your enemies. It is the radical, agonizingly difficult capacity to forgive the unforgivable. Looking at this photograph of the Somnath Temple, you see a structure built directly against the crashing tides of the Arabian Sea. It is just one anchor point in a vast geographic network. Combine that with this view of the wide, rocky banks of central India's rivers. These shrines leave a massive physical footprint across the continent's diverse landscapes. These stone temples serve as physical anchors for a narrative that actually centers on the internal, psychological trials of the figures described in the myths. A unifying pattern emerges across all 12 myths. The divine presence only physically manifests when the human spirit forces it to, achieving absolute purity through crushing humility, total repentance, and radical forgiveness. The 12 myths culminate in a singular truth. The ultimate shrine exists within a mind perfectly stripped of its ego.